we're going to do it in about 3 parts, as usual. We're going to talk about what it looks like. What does it look like if you're on this repeating cycle of the same thing happening, same thought patterns, going through the same motions? What's that going to look like? Because you might not recognize it when we use the words that we do. So what does it look like in real life? Yeah, and it's not your fault if you do that. It's natural to get ourselves into these patterns. So it's not at all from a place of judgment, but we just want you to know that it doesn't make you happy and it doesn't make anything change. And so based on what we believe, what we say, and how we behave, it will look for those things. It's like you may have heard of confirmation bias. It's the same. What you're expecting, you will get. So we always start with a quote. And this week's quote is one of your favorites. So I'm just going to let you say it.
Yeah. Change the way you look at things and things you look at change, by Wayne Dyer. He's an awesome teacher, and well, he's not with us anymore. He's passed over, but he was an awesome teacher and I suppose guide, spiritual awakening guide. So yeah, that's what the depth in just a small quote, like change the way you see things, change the way you look at things. That can actually make a big difference on your whole life. It all starts with your perception.
Yeah, and it seems so simple that it doesn't seem possible, but we are both living proof that it can change everything. We've certainly experienced that. So we're going to do it in about 3 parts, as usual. We're going to talk about what it looks like. What does it look like if you're on this repeating cycle of the same thing happening, same thought patterns, going through the same motions? What's that going to look like? Because you might not recognize it when we use the words that we do. So what does it look like in real life? Part 2 is, why does it happen? Why do we get ourselves in this situation? The science behind it. There is science behind it. And then finally, what to do about it. So part 1, what does it look like? So it doesn't always look dramatic. This is the thing, in fact, because you're in it, you don't notice so much. You notice that you don't feel like you can put changes in place. You might feel like life is boring and monotonous. You might feel like you haven't got anything to look forward to and all that kind of things, but you might not recognize that you're just like going through the motions on autopilot.
Yeah, that's it. Like you're on this hamster wheel, and it's just a continuous cycle of life. And that's, we're conditioned to believe that's all there is. We feel that there's no change, or we're not aware at the time. Obviously, we're going through the same stuff over and over again. We're met with the same obstacles and challenges, the same relationships, the same narcissists, the same kinds of people, all that kind of energy. And we don't actually see it until we're out of it. And it is that perception. It's like it's knowing that we actually have the power to change things. If you're living that mundane life over and over again, if nothing seems to be changing, you actually do have the power to transform and move out of that.
Yeah, and it's fair to say that everybody has the power to change it. You've just got to believe that you can,
Yeah.
And we can give you the tools to help you believe that you can, and we can tell you why you're in that situation. And we'll talk a lot about self-awareness, because you can't sort something out if you're not aware of it, can you? So hopefully for some people this might even just be bringing awareness that there is a cycle. So what could it look like in schools? So if you're just going through the motions, you might dread seeing a particular student in the morning. It might be somebody who, a student that's particularly difficult, and you're sort of dreading them before they even get through the door. Snapping at the same behaviors. So you thought, right, next time I'm going to be calm, I can handle this. But then the same emotions come out. You're not able to be in control of it. Ending every week saying things like, I'll catch up at the weekend. And then I used to do this so much. I used to take my books home. I'm like, I've got some marking I've got to catch up with. And all I do was just transport it home. It would sit on the side and then I would take it back again. I was no better off. And I never learned. It's a bit like what we're saying about sparring, about keeping your guard up, because I'm just going to keep punching you in the face until you learn the lesson. Put your guard up. And it's like that. I just didn't seem to learn that something had to change. There was, or just accept that I wasn't going to do it and not carry them home, feeling like the staff room is stuck on a broken record, or finding that you have the same grumble, and maybe you're not aware of it, but it'd be really interesting to think about going through the week and thinking about, what do you grumble about? Is it the same thing? And actually, sometimes our small talk, a small talk is basically, hi, I see you, we're friendly. It's like a verbal high five, isn't it? But sometimes our verbal high fives can be a moan, and we just moan about the same thing. A common sort of cultural one is the weather,
Ireland and England, we're terrible for it. And like, what bugs me is they don't even talk about it. It's just like, if it's raining, it's miserable. Like saying the whole thing is miserable. And it's like, your words are creating miserableness. Like, you know what I mean? Use something different. Just say, oh, it's raining today. Yeah, that's all. It's just that simple. Change your language towards things. Like, I used to hate rain, and that's perception and the awareness thing here. I used to hate rain, so effectively I hate it almost every day in Ireland because it rains a lot. And it's like, you're suffering from depression because it's raining. And I'm like, no, I have to change this. Now I see the rain as something refreshing. It's a cleanse, you know what I mean? It sounds fun, it sounds therapeutic. So I changed my concept of it, because if I hated it, I'd just be depressed all the time like I was. So this is it, change your language, change your perception, and just change your life, really.
Yeah, definitely. So staff rooms can be really tricky because it doesn't take many people on a grumble to bring the whole room down, and sometimes it's hard, because you can empathize with what they're saying, and what we tend to do when we're getting along with somebody is we mirror them, that's how we build rapport. So what happens is we end up grumbling too. We get on the grumble with them, and it doesn't help them, and it certainly doesn't help us, does it?
The Morning Growing Society, I've heard it being called, and that's what it is. And we were all a part of it, the Morning Growing Society. And in Ireland, it's either the weather, money, or death. It's like, did you hear that person died? I'm like, sorry, but we can. It's the only topic of conversation. Or Jesus, the flu is catching, and it's like, think of something amazing, or say something nice about the person who passed on. Don't be saying it in a miserable way. It's like, celebrate their life, or celebrate, the weather is good, and not moaning that it's going to rain in 4 days. Do you know what I mean? We're living now, not next week. You know what I mean? So just change your language, and you can actually change. It's like, stop moaning. It's like, you know what I mean? Life can be full of color if we actually see outside of the box that we're living in.
Yeah, and it's not your fault if you do that. It's natural to get ourselves into these patterns. So it's not at all from a place of judgment, but we just want you to know that it doesn't make you happy, and it doesn't make anything change. And so we want you to, we're not saying that there isn't things that are wrong going on, and perhaps if something is bothering you, you should go through the proper channels to change that. But moaning to colleagues or to your friends about something doesn't change anything.
It does. It enhances it, and it attracts more of it. So
we'll talk about the science behind that. It actually does, and I'll talk about that later. But yes, it does make it worse, actually. But it certainly doesn't change for the better for doing it, does it? Yeah. So thinking, I've already explained this 5 times, and feeling unheard, like feeling like you're having to maybe setting a boundary over and over again with somebody, and they're not hearing you, or just like with the kids, that I get this every time. And actually, it's one child who just likes to play a game with me in the morning. And so I was like, right, children, this is the dinner options. I want everybody to tune in, everybody listening. I don't want anyone to ask. Listen now. This is the only time you're going to hear it. And every time he's like, what's the dinner options? And then he grins at me. It's a little game he plays with me. So now whenever I say his name, I just say the options again and take the power away from him. Because I know he's gonna say it anyway. Yeah. But sometimes we can feel like we're saying things and people are not listening. So that could also be a sign. In general life, waking up tired, reaching for your phone and scrolling through lots of stressful stuff, promising to slow down, but then everything seems to be chaotic. You're like, I recognize I need to pause, but not actually doing it because things seem to get in the way. Wanting change, but not knowing where to start, feeling maybe overwhelmed or thinking that it's not possible or what's the point in general life. And I think, I know I used to have this, the Sunday blues. I would already start worrying and feeling in a low mood about having to go to work on Monday on Sunday, and it would usually
ruin the
be,
subject.
but it would be like early on as well. It wouldn't be like, oh, it's bedtime, or it's school in the morning.
No, you wake up Sunday morning, oh God, you know, I've got work tomorrow, and like the whole day is ruined because of your mindset. It's a full day you still have off.
Yeah. You've got 2 days off, and one of the days you spend brooding over the fact you've got to go to work the next day, you know? Yeah. So these are the kind of things, it's really common to get into these things, you know, and, you know, it doesn't mean that you're a negative person or you know, you're doing something bad or wrong. It's very natural. I think society is set up for us to be that way, but we don't have to be that way, you know? We can change it. We just have to be intentional. We need to spot it. We need to be intentional about what we are thinking about. And I'll explain why in a minute. So is there anything else you would like to add if you're going through Groundhog Day? What other?
Well, just recognize the pattern. If something seems the same thing over and over again, or if you're met with the same problem over and over again, what came to my head there when you were speaking about school was repetitive strain injury. If you get the same pain in the same spot over and over and over and over again, it means you need to rest and you have to stop doing the thing you're doing. So it's a metaphor of life. Like if you keep meeting the same challenges, meeting the same people, meeting the same negativity, meeting the same problems, there's obviously, you know, if something needs to change, you have to ask yourself the question, what can I do to break this pattern? What can I do to jump off this hamster wheel? So just start to be self-aware of the fact that, you know, if it's repeating, it means you haven't learned your lesson, and it will only continue to repeat unless you do. Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, you just keep getting punched in the face. Yeah. So, So why does it happen then? So I've talked about this a lot, but our brain has a filter. It's called, I've got the scientific name for it. It's called the reticular activating system. And what it does is it decides what to pay attention to. So we are bombarded outside our body and inside our body with so much information. It's too much for us to process. And so based on what we believe, what we say, and how we behave, it will look for those things. It's like you may have heard of confirmation bias, you know, it's the same, what you're expecting you will get. So that's why language is important, because our subconscious mind is always listening. So if we're saying, even in jest, actually, if you're saying things even in jest about yourself, oh, I'm rubbish at this, or you know, being sarcastic, it doesn't understand sarcasm. It doesn't understand it's a joke. Your brain believes you, what you say, the words that come out of your mouth. And I know it sounds silly that we have to be really intentional about all the words that we say, but it's true, because our subconscious it's always listening to us, always. Yeah. So for example, if you're thinking this class is too hard, then your brain will be looking for evidence that you're right. That's not to say that a class isn't hard, but you're going to miss the points, those magical moments when they fill your heart or where they do something really nice. And it's going to exaggerate, because remember, I've talked about this before, your brain distorts the information to fit. So it's not necessarily what's actually happening. It distorts it to fit. It cherry picks the information, and it deletes information. Like, that's not relevant. And I saw this at a member of staff who was feeling quite unseen, perhaps unrecognized, congratulated on something in a staff meeting, and her name was mentioned. She didn't hear it. She was like, no, my name wasn't mentioned. And I'm like, yes, it definitely was. I definitely heard your name. And that's it. She wasn't lying. Her brain just went, my name's not relevant. Don't hear it.
That's it. You're right. Like, we hear what we want to hear. Like, there can be a massive sentence there, and we literally only hear what we are here, or don't hear what we want to hear. And it's amazing how our brains work like that. Like, so it is expectation-based reality. So, like, if we're expecting to hear negative, we'll only hear negative, and they could be talking about rainbows, and we could be hearing, storm.
And a wonderful example of that, I don't know if you've seen, but there's reels where they play a piece of sound, like somebody talking, and then they show you different sentences. And depending on which sentence is showing, you will hear that differently. So it fits the one that you're reading.
Yeah, so I can't remember where I heard this. It's like, it was on a DeGeneres or something like that. It was a clip I saw, and they played this thing, and they asked the audience, did you hear this, or did you hear this? And the audience heard a certain thing, but I heard, like, some of us heard the opposite of it. And it was actually the thing that I didn't hear. Like, even when I heard it back, I was like, I don't get it, like, because that's it. We're different creatures, and we hear differently.
Yeah, because you've got to remember that your brain is just interpreting electrical signals, vibrations into your ear, and it's interpreting them. And if your brain can distort, delete, or generalize those things to fit what you think, then you're not necessarily going to hear exactly word for word what was said, and in this case, it was really interesting. I really felt for her. But it was really interesting that was a beautiful example of that her name was definitely said, but because her brain was like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to be recognized for this particular thing, they won't say my name, her brain went, it didn't happen, and it happens in such a subtle way. It can happen in a massive way as well.